So I'm going to talk about today what is on everybody's mind, and that is tariffs. So we've been hearing this word a lot over the last few months, and President Trump has put a lot of tariffs on. Now he's got a 90-day pause, increased tariffs on China. Well, what does it all mean, and how does this affect us here in Northeast Ohio? Hey everybody, my name is Chris Moscarino. I am the CEO and founder of the Moscarino Group with Keller Williams here in Strongsville, Ohio. Welcome to our channel, and we appreciate you and grateful that you are here with us today. Our channel is dedicated to everything Northeast Ohio, whether it has to do with real estate, economic development, fun things to do, restaurants, places to go. Tune in, click that subscribe button below so you don't miss any upcoming episodes and all the fun things here in Cleveland, Ohio. All right, so let's jump in and talk about the tariffs and how that's going to affect industries here in Northeast Ohio, job market in Northeast Ohio, as well as the real estate market in 2025. So the U.S. has rolled out new tariffs on a lot of imports, including steel, aluminum, semiconductors, auto parts, solar components, building materials. And this is all and can all affect industries here in Northeast Ohio. These tariffs are aimed at boosting domestic production and protecting national interests. But they also have side effects, higher costs, supply chain bottlenecks, and potential job loss. So let's talk about those top 5 industries and how they are going to be affected. So those 5 industries, 1 is manufacturing, 2 is healthcare and medical devices, 3 is building and construction, 4 is automotive and aerospace, and 5 is technology and advanced materials. All right, so let's talk manufacturing. So manufacturing is still the heartbeat of Northeast Ohio. And some of these companies and cities are in areas like Parma, Cleveland, Lorain, Elyria, companies such as Eaton or Lincoln Electric. What does this mean for those companies? Well, with higher import costs on aluminum and steel and some of these other materials means smaller margins for these companies. And if there's smaller margins, that may lead to layoffs, reduced overtime or hours, and potentially not hiring or hiring freezes. If these things do happen to these industries or these companies, so what that means for real estate in these specific areas or markets is it could reduce buyer demand if these companies have to lay people off, reduce hours, or start limiting who and how many people they hire. The next industry we have to look at is healthcare and medical devices. And these are areas such as Beechwood, Independence, Cleveland, where we have our global leaders of the Cleveland Clinic, university hospitals, and some other device manufacturers for medical equipment. Now again, with the tariffs means higher costs for imported goods, which could lead to slower growth or expansion for these companies. And these manufacturers may have to cut budgets, which means this could all slow demand for buyers again in these areas. It could slow relocation. So people that want to relocate to this area for jobs in the hospital and healthcare industries. So this could slow growth down for that buyer demand in these areas, especially with young professionals. The third industry is the automotive and aerospace industry. And these are in areas such as Brook Park, Avon Lake, Twinsburg, and Mentor. Northeast Ohio is full of auto suppliers and aerospace manufacturers. So what does this mean for them? Again, with increased cost is going to slow down specific buyer demand if it's affecting jobs. If all of this slows production and weakens the workforce, especially in these blue collar areas, we could see reduced buyer demand right now, which will slow down the real estate market. So let's talk about the next industry, which is technology and advanced materials. And this is cities like Hudson, Strongsville, Westlake that we see a lot of these companies in. These tariffs could put in higher costs of importing goods that they need for development, which could slow that process down for these companies. This sector really relies on the supply chain, which if that gets bottlenecked, it could really slow things down on getting into the country, which will slow their production levels down. These tariffs that will affect these companies are on the semiconductors, rare materials, which could increase the prices again and lead to delays in R&D and expansion. So how does this affect real estate? Well, if growth slows in this sector, it could slightly cool high buyer demand in that activity. especially among transplant or dual income households. And last but not least, let's talk about building materials and construction. Areas that are Medina, Cleveland, Brunswick, Strongsville. These companies are sprinkled in throughout Northeast Ohio, which could be affected by higher costs for all the building and construction materials, which really fuels the economy and new household growth in Ohio and Cleveland, Ohio. Some of these increased costs could be on lumber, on housing fixtures, flooring, and appliances. So increased material costs could delay the whole process for building new construction. And if we have delayed timelines, it might defer buyers from purchasing new home construction, which could push more buyers to resale homes. It could also make the entry level for first home buyers even harder to get into with the affordability level. So with that all being said, with this sector, what it could really do, it could increase competition and prices on existing homes because it's going to be harder to get into these new construction homes and make it affordable for home buyers right now. So here's the bottom line. We talked about all the 5 industries. We talked about the effects that it could have on the real estate market should these things happen. But here's what we can expect. So if these tariffs do affect these industries, it could slow buyer demand, especially with new construction. However, with the limited inventory, it could increase the amount of buyer activity and competing offers on existing home sales. And lastly, there could be longer timelines on flips or renovation homes because of the supply chain bottleneck and the expensive new construction and building costs. Now, I know that sounded like a lot of negative impacts. However, let's talk about what we're experiencing right now. So there is still a ton of demand in Northeast Ohio for most homes and most price points. We're seeing multiple offers on regular occasions again, and buyer demand is very high at the moment. Could this all change? Should these tariffs really start impacting the industries here in Northeast Ohio? Absolutely. So that's why it's very important that if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate in the next 6 to 12 months, we should have a conversation to see what the best plan is for you and putting that plan into action. It's super important to just stay informed on this, and we're going to be covering it every month to keep you informed of what's happening and how this is impacting Northeast Ohio and the real estate market. If you want a customized strategy based on where you live and your job industry, then we should absolutely talk. So text me below. My number is 440-227-2615, and let's set up a time to jump on a quick call to see what options you have and what makes most sense for you. So thanks for joining us today as we dove into the 5 major industries in Northeast Ohio, how these tariffs are going to potentially affect those industries and real estate in those surrounding areas. If you have questions or you just want to chat and figure out a plan of action if you're going to be buying, selling, or investing in the upcoming months, shoot me a text and let's talk, and I'll help you navigate through these changes with confidence. See you next time.